identify this as what I call a divine appointment. This is not normally the kind of thing that I do. But over the last few weeks, the Lord's kind of been laying a new idea on me. And and as I tried to begin to put it down on paper, I just, for some reason or other, I had a hunger to share it with you all, specifically manifestation. And I think it grew out of the fact that last time I was here, I saw in this process that you all were really working at your faith. And when a lesson got delivered, you were sitting there and applying it to your life and trying to figure out, you know, how do I relate to this, and how does it touch me? And to me, that's the essence of what it means to grow as a Christian. And so this idea just has been coming to me, and I want to share it with you. It's not all fixed up. This is a rough sketch idea. You know, my sermons are typed out. All of my notes here, this is the idea. And so I hope that we can work together today, and if you've got questions about what I say, raise them, and we'll try to go and answer that so we can all come along together, okay? All right. So, here's what I believe about all of us. I believe that we are all children of God. You got that? Mm-hmm. Well, can we all say amen to that?
Amen.
Okay. We're all children of God. We are made in the image of God, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. What is that image of God like for us? How are we like the image of God? I think we're like the image of God because we share with God the ability to create. That God was a creating consciousness. God spoke a word, made it conscious, and it comes into being. Let there be light, there's light. You know, let there be creepy crawly things, there's creepy crawly things. You know, let the firmament be divided from the waters, it happens. So God speaks a word and creation happens. And we share that with God. Our nature is creativity. We are all creating beings. The question then becomes, what are we going to create? What are we creating with our lives? Okay? Because each of us gets to create. So what are we creating? And part of what I have realized in my journey is that one of the things I've created in my life is distance and separation from God. Okay, distance and separation from God. Do you all have days when you go, God, where are you? Mm-hmm. Do you have days when you go, I don't even know if I believe in you, God? It still happens. It still happens in my life. So what I want to do today is to sketch out for you what I see to be the things that separate us from God, and then how we come back to God. Okay? So, here's what I'm going to do. Here's the way I see it in my mind, at least. So, I start off. This is you or me or anybody else. And God names us. God calls us into being. Just capture that for just a second. You know, think about the fact God spoke Terrell, and you came into being. God speaks Michael, and you came into being. God speaks each of our names, Timothy, and we come into being. We are a creation of God. And so here, God has spoken this. Here's God. God all around. God all around. So God speaks us into creation, and we are born, and we have a mind. And when we start off, when God spoke Adam and Eve into creation, this was the way it was. They had their mind, Adam's mind, Eve's mind, but I'm just going to use an M for mind. And they had soul. And God spoke that into being. And when you are in this state, when mind and soul are linked together and you live in the midst of God's creation, everything is great. There is no separation from you and God. There's no, your soul, now this body may be temporary. It's a human body. So it's temporary. But this soul here is eternal, right? And it's always there. This soul feeds that body to keep it functioning. Mm-hmm. When you are in a state of before the fall, when Adam and Eve were in a state before the fall, they lived forever because they weren't focused on this part of them, they were focused on this part of them. Mm. And the soul lives forever. Okay. Let's see, what else did I need to say about this? Okay, so life is eternal because life is viewed through the eternality of the soul. There is no fear because we live in this perfect trust relationship with love. And trust runs in our lives. Okay, so that's where we started out. And then you all know a fall happened, right? A fall happened. And the Bible tells us when Adam and Eve ate of the tree of the knowledge, it was a tree of the knowledge of what?
Good and evil.
Good and evil. Okay? And what happened then, when they ate of that tree, what happened to them was that they began to have, for the first time in their life, a dual mind. Mm. Duality happened. So there's a dual mind. And things become good or bad. And the mind's deciding what's good, what's bad. Right? And when that happens, the mind then, this human mind is now separated from the soul, is living on its own, and it goes, oh my God, I'm going to die. Hmm. And that's a bad thing, because the mind can only see as far as my body goes. It can't see. It's lost its soul connection. Okay? So, and then what happens in the story is something else gets erected. And you remember in the story of Adam and Eve, after they've eaten of the fruit of the tree of good and evil, what happens? What's the next thing that happens in this story? Do you remember? They discover they're naked. What else? They go
and hide.
They go and hide.
They cover themselves. Cover themselves.
They cover themselves because they are
aware.
Ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we enter into duality, when we begin to think about things as good and bad, rather than just being, what we begin to do, now we begin to develop shame. And we begin to develop fear. And that shame and that fear begin to become a barrier for us that keep us from this place. See, in here, before that, the scriptures tell us that God had come down and walk in the cool of the evening, right?
Mm-hmm.
He'd walk in the cool of the evening. God was not only present through their soul, God was tangibly present in their world, right? So God could always come in. God could always be. But now, we have this knowledge of good and evil. We have developed a sense of shame. And that shame, and then that fear that, oh my God, I'm going to die, begins to form a barrier around us. So God no longer has the ability to just pop into our lives. We have formed a shield around ourselves. Once I'm fearful, what happens to trust?
Right.
Now I can't trust God anymore. And so you see, we're beginning this process of developing all of the things that keep God out of our lives. Okay, let's see. All right. Duality. Like I said, I'm really just working this out. Now all the things that come in our world can be good and evil, not just be. Everything gets labeled one way or the other. Okay. Next thing that happens is we begin to build this duality.
I have a question.
Yeah. I think right in here, maybe this is what we would call original sin, is the duality of mind. That labels some things good, some things bad.
Gotcha.
Okay? All right. So now, so then we've got fear, we've got the possibility of being hurt. So now we want to build a shield around ourselves from the hurt. And often the place that we develop that shield is what I call the childhood hurts. Okay? Let me switch over for just a second. And this is not original with me, but this is with a guy by the name of Fritz Kunkel, but I really find it very helpful to talk about. Kunkel says we have either high energy or low energy. And we either grew up in a nurturing environment or a non-nurturing environment. And as a result of that, we end up in one of four categories here. Okay? If we grew up with low energy but in a nurturing environment, we become what he calls the clinging vine. And the way clinging vines operate in life is they are always looking for somebody to take care of them. So the clinging vine wants to be taken care of. Know anybody whose way of living is, I want to be taken care of? That's their primary. And when we're in that state, we do a lot of things to get people to take care of us. We manipulate people a lot, right? We manipulate for care. If you grew up in a non-nurturing environment where it's pretty negative and you were low energy, you become what he calls a turtle. A turtle. See, a turtle wants to put up barriers to everybody and everything.
Yeah.
Right? Barriers. Protect myself. Protect myself. That's what the turtle wants to do. Protect myself. I'm going to pull away. I'm going to withdraw. Okay? That's it. That's what the turtle does. Now, what happens if you're a high energy, and again, these are energy, this is energy level over here. What happens if you're a high energy, non-nurturing, grow up in a high energy, you're high energy, and you grow up in a non-nurturing environment? High energy, non-nurturing environment.
Aggressive?
You, what he says Nero, or Hitler.
Oh my God. Wow.
That's the Hitler personality, or the Nero personality. Okay? And that person, what do they want? I want control. I want to call the shots. And I will do whatever it takes to be in control, to have the power. Power to rule. Okay? Know anybody who got a lot of energy, grew up in a really hard environment that is out to rule their world? Sure. Know anybody who didn't have very much energy, grew up in a non-nurturing place, and just is a turtle? Okay. So then the other category is over here. High energy, nurturing environment. He calls this the star. The person who wants to be the star. And the deal for the star is everybody likes me. Okay? Everybody likes me. And each of these things, each of these states has a terror, an anxiety place. For the clinging vine, what do you think would be the thing that would scare them the most?
Not have nothing to hold on to.
Nobody's taking care of me. No care. And that is deep scare for them. What do you think for the turtle?
Somebody coming.
Hmm?
Or somebody coming to
Yeah. Invading my space, right? Invading me. Invading my distance. Okay, what do you think for the Hitler Nero?
Being on the throne.
Huh?
Being on the throne.
Well, but what would be their terror? What would scare them to death?
Somebody ruling them.
Huh?
Somebody ruling them.
Right. Loss of power.
Yeah.
Loss of control. What do you think for the star?
Somebody having more shine than them.
More shine, okay? Or nobody likes me. Rejection, okay? All right. And what Kunkel says is that all of us have a bit of this in us. We've all had childhood hurts in our lives. And they cause us to go to one of these things. So, we're not going to talk about it out loud right now, but think about it for a second. What would be yours? What would be yours? And what happens is if we get thwarted, if our terror here, and okay, if the clinging vine is getting no care, then the clinging vine will have a second position that they'll go to. Huh? Yeah.
It's good.
Okay. And where will they go? Usually they'll go to the other side, the higher energy. They'll go to a place of higher energy. So if nobody's caring about me, then I'm going to do a lot of things to make people like me.
Right.
Then
Right.
people will care about me and I can go back here, right? Right? If I'm over here and people keep invading my distance, what am I going to do?
Take power, you.
Out of my face. I'm going to go here. If I'm here, where am I going to go? If I'm a star, where am I going to go? See? So secondary, first position, second position. So see how that works. Okay, back over here to this. So then we've got this all around us. We've got this ego layer that's got, star or clinging vine or Nero or turtle. And that forms a layer around us. And what contemplatives call this whole thing is our false program for happiness. It's the way we're trying to get happiness and joy and peace and good stuff into our lives. But the very system of all of this, we can't get through. God can't get through in all of this. Okay? And so what happens? We go, God, I just want to be happy. I just want to be joyful in my life. Please, God, help me. And what's going on? There's no way for God to come through all the defenses that we have raised in our lives. Very difficult for God to come through all of those defenses that we've raised in our lives. Now, we'll do one more thing. One more circle. Yeah.
When you say
Take it one step further. We say, God, help me. I'm so miserable. And all of a sudden, bang, bang, bang. And we are feeling, and God's trying to come through to us, but it doesn't feel like grace. It feels like an attack.
Oh.
You get that? It feels like an attack. Because God says, I'm not going to let you be a clean vine anymore.
Right.
And all that clean vine stuff gets challenged.
Take those scratches away.
Yeah. I'm not going to let you be a star anymore. You know. And bang, we're knocked upside the head. I'm not going to let you be in control anymore. Small political aside, I think Mr. Trump is getting ready to have an encounter with God. My politics, not maybe yours, but anyway. Okay, now here's one more crazy thing that goes on in this. At least this is as far as I've been able to get it. One more thing we do. One more layer we put around all of this. The next layer we put around this is what I call the mask. The mask. How am I trying? How do I, if I really sit here and let my inner Hitler out, I'm going to get rejected. If I'm too clingy, viney, people are just going to kind of, nah, that person's too needy, right? If I'm too much of a star, what an egotistical, if I'm too much of a turtle, well, okay? So we put on a mask. And the mask is, we try to look good, right? We try to soften all of this so that we look like a good person. Okay, this is a little tough, but try this. Just try this. Think about it. A lot of sometimes our mask gets built around our religion. Our religion. Our religion becomes a mask to cover up all this crap on the inside. Excuse my language. All this stuff on the inside, we try to look good on the outside. Remember when Jesus says, you cleanse the outside of the cup, but the inside of the cup is full of decaying flesh and bones, right?
Right.
So we're trying to do, we put on this, we mask ourselves. We clean ourselves up on the outside, but all this stuff is going on the inside. Okay? All right, so that's, and then we wonder why we can't find God. And it's not that God isn't there. It's not that God isn't trying. It's just that we have built such a barrier around us. And remember what I said at the very first. We are creative. We're a creative consciousness. We create. We're creating this negative reality that we're living. We're creating this false program for happiness. Okay? So, how do you get through this? Okay, and that's tough. But here it is. Okay, I do not know how to get through this. Okay, here's the only things that worked for me. All right, and that is. The first thing is, one thing is, I surrender to God. And that becomes my prayer. I was telling people the other day, here's my prayer life now. I don't have a lot of words in my prayer life anymore, by and large. I don't have a lot of requests, prayers to God. Mostly what I try to do in my prayer life is go, okay, God, here I am. I open myself to you for you to do whatever you need to do in me. I give you permission. I surrender. I invite you in. Come and do your work. That becomes my prayer. And for me, there's almost a physical feeling to that prayer. My chest, I feel when I'm in that place of openness, it's like my chest sort of expands right here in front of my heart. And I just sit in that place and I breathe. Now, I want to be absolutely honest with you about what I experience. Okay? First thing is, I have no discipline of mind, so I hold that place for about 20 seconds, and then my mind goes off someplace. Anybody else? You know, it's like, here I am, God, I am open to you. You know? Oh, okay. Now, all right. Okay, sorry. I'm a cuss. Lord, here I am for you. Squirrel mind. Yeah. Off. All the time. And you know, I've come to imagine how God works on me. God's there, and Tim's getting ready to pray. He's getting ready to pray. He's open. Oh, wait a minute. He's going to pray again. God's just working as fast as God can. Because I only give him about 10 seconds. But you know what? 10 seconds adds up.
Yeah.
And God is a great God. God can do a lot in 10 seconds.
Praise God.
Praise God for that.
Yes.
Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing, so surrender to God, prayer. It's a surrender prayer to God. And then here's the other thing that goes on for me, is I call it mindfulness. That is, I in my own mind try to be aware of all of this stuff so that I don't operate from it.
Okay.
Okay? You see? I try to be mindful. Mindfulness brings is what you have to have in order to have what the scriptures call discernment.
Mm-hmm.
Discernment was being able to make choices in life. You know? So and have you all had the experience like me of thinking God was asking you to do one thing and it didn't turn out, and then over